investing is becoming easier and easier, you can start with an incredibly low amount of money. So bringing down the barriers while property is very inaccessible, investing into shares, investing to ETFs is very easy.
Welcome to Checks and Balances, brought to you by Partners Life. I'm Michael Vincent. This is James Blair. And today, Checks and Balances explains what is an ETF.
We're back in your life. And Checks and Balances is all about breaking down money jargon. Mike, we're very guilty of it. ETFs is one of those terms.
Yeah. The finance world is built on jargon and opaque language. And a lot of the time, it's because historically, people charge pretty high fees for stuff. And when you come back to your broker and go, hey, mate, you're charging me quite a bit of money for this transaction. They go, well, actually, it's the spread on the EPF, on the PIP, on the closing balance of the day. And you go, yeah, shit, I guess that makes sense, mate. Charge me what you want. However,
did you just put me on a PIP? Did that just happen?
However, this is not the case anymore. With the kind of onset of internet trading and a lot more people being able to do DIY tradings, there's a lot of jargon out there that we need to break down, right? And ETF is one of them that's been thrown around quite a bit recently. So, James, as the investment guru of this duo, what is an ETF?
It's an exchange traded fund. So an ETF can be lots of different things. It's a very general term. It's really just it's a basket of lots of different companies. So if you invest into a share, say you own some Fisher & Paykel Healthcare or some Xero or Tesla, and you own one share, it goes up in value. You're happy in your ownership that the company's worth more. It goes down. You're not so happy. And then you probably get maybe paid a dividend from time to time. Now, instead of owning one company and having to try and pick that company, let's say you own 100 companies or 1,000 companies, and those companies are all moving along every day, and they're also getting changed depending on the type of fund. So you might have an ETF for the NZX 50 or the Australian Top 200 or the S&P 500, or it might be more in like the climate space in terms of a green ETF. There's 1,000 different options. An ETF really just means we've got a basket of shares that we're investing into.
Exactly. So one of the big things about ETFs is that they pull money together from multiple investors to invest into kind of a diversified kind of assets, right? Like a whole lot of different funds, which is one of the really kind of key benefits from them as well. James, what are some of the other key features of those ETFs?
So some of these are a little bit technical, and for the average investor, I really wouldn't worry about. I would just be thinking about an ETF as like a basket of shares. If you want to get a little bit technical, liquidity, so it can be sold and it can be bought during the day, while say an index fund is priced at the end of the day. A lot of other funds are priced during the day. The other thing is transparency. So many ETFs disclose their holdings daily, which is a good thing. And another huge benefit, which actually applies across lots of different types of investments, is around diversity. So opposed to investing into one share, one market, one industry, or invested into a very diverse basket of shares.
Yeah. So let's say an ETF, I can see it on whatever trading platform I'm looking like. The opposite of an ETF, but still a fund, I guess, is something like Berkshire Hathaway, where there is a fund, but it is not traded on an exchange. It is priced at the end of the day, and you have to buy in and out of that fund through Berkshire Hathaway.
Yeah, there would be less liquidity in that scenario, opposed to an ETF is a lot more transparent.
Before we move on, we talk all the time about planning and growing our wealth, but protecting that wealth is just as important. That's why having the right insurance in place can help when life goes unexpectedly.
And that's why this episode is brought to you by Partners Life, a New Zealand operated award-winning insurance provider with over 300,000 Kiwis insured and 89% of claims paid.
Partners Life understand that having some insurance is better than having no insurance. They have flexible and personalized solutions for any budget or situation.
Check out their website in our show notes below.
So what are some of the benefits of an ETF?
So probably one of the big ones, and kind of you mentioned around how investing is becoming easier and easier. You can start with an incredibly low amount of money. So bringing down the barriers while property is very inaccessible, investing into shares, investing to ETFs is very easy. Cost effective. generally when we use the term ETF, we're talking about low cost investment structures. So we've had like Milford on the podcast in the past. They are an active fund manager. They are we're going to charge you a higher fee and we're going to try and outperform the market. And ETF is we're going to charge incredibly low fees. We're not going to outperform the market. We're going to track the market, whatever market you might be tracking. It's also accessible. So it means that it allows, like I said, small investors to get in, and there's a lot of flexibility. It's easy to trade like any other stock.
Yeah, because some of those larger closed off funds that aren't ETFs, you might have to have a minimum investment of 100,000 US, 500,000 US as your entry point into the fund. So much more accessible.
Yep.
So those are the benefits. What are some of the risks and limitations of an ETF?
I would say it's very much like investing into any market, right? There's risks. So obviously the share market goes up and down every day. One risk I'm a little bit worried at the moment for lots of investors out there is the S&P 500 has increased somewhere in the ballpark of 90% over the past 5 years, 25% over the past 12 months. People are going to start chasing a particular market opposed to being more diversified. And there's volatility. Some markets, the NZX hasn't done anything for a few years. Remember when we called the rockstar economy? We were the number one performing market. Markets kind of go up and down. It is what it is. So the risk of investing is by far the biggest one. I'd say another risk is in terms of education. So people just pick random stuff and just making sure if you don't know what you're doing, one, you talk to a financial advisor. 2, that you've aligned it with your risk profile. 3, that you are just really well diversified instead of only in a few things. Tracking errors in ETFs, probably on the more technical side, don't really want to spend a lot of time talking about it. If you're tracking a basket of shares that are moving all the time, you will have, it won't be perfect. They're trying to replicate, so that it will be like a little bit off. When we say a little bit off, you and I, with our attention to detail, are not going to be able to pick this up.
Yeah.
And the last one is liquidity risk. So not all ETFs have high trading volumes, which means if there's less people buying and selling, it means it could be hard to get your money out. So that would probably just be when you are investing into an ETF, making sure it's a reasonable size.
Yeah. Okay. So I've listened to this. I've gone exchange traded funds. I wonder if they're for me. Who are the types of clients that should be considering investing into ETFs?
So this is actually coming back to what are your goals? So obviously we've talked a lot about emergency funds. We want to make sure we have our emergency fund locked down before we start to invest into the share market at all. Now I'm going to use the term share market ETF interchangeably.
Yeah.
If you have a mortgage, you definitely shouldn't be investing into ETFs. You should be focusing on paying down your debt. If you're saving your deposit to buy a house, you should not be investing into ETFs or shares. You should be saving that money in a savings account because of the volatility. For those who are longer term investors, and a perfect example is your KiwiSaver in terms of investing into shares, assuming you're not buying a house or about to retire. You've got a long time frame. You can set up an automatic payment. You can drip feed into it consistently over a period of time. That is perfect as long as you're comfortable with what you're investing into and the risks. Now, when it comes to the term ETF, essentially implying lower costs, that would be for those out there who go, I am just focused on, opposed to somebody who's going to try and deliver me a greater return, somebody's going to charge me a very small fee and just track the market and deliver me whatever the market delivers.
Yeah. So we've talked about what they are, what they're built of, how to trade from them, and who should be actually investing in them. All of you with a mortgage out there, please think twice about it. James, anything you want to add before we wrap it up?
No, it's just another perfect example of just jargon that you should ignore. Really just think about it in terms of shares. There is low cost options. There are actively managed options. There are options in terms of having an advisor. You want to be making sure you're well diversified. You want to make sure you understand your risk profile. You understand the fees. So that is Checks and Balances Explains ETFs. Much love to Partners Life for sponsoring this episode. Please make sure to subscribe to the channel. Give us a review, give us a like, and we'll catch you next time.
Cheers.